So your guy in your movie, you pick him up and he's working a job
Yeah.
he probably hates, and working with his best buddy who, in the movie he talks about how they want to be together, right? They're best friends. They fought together. Tell me about the other character. What's his story?
Yeah, so Daryl Sparks is the character name. It's played by Matt Dallas, who actually did the nationwide road trip with me because it was imperative for me that he see it for himself. And again, this is going back to 2011, and then of course
Oh,
years of research. So, for Matt, all those stories that were shared with us that eventually went into my screenplay lived within him, And so when he got to set, I thought it was what was really interesting about Matt's performance was I wanted somebody who didn't have to act the essence of smiling through the pain,
right.
right? Because it takes a lot of strength to do that.
Yeah.
So, his character, I'm glad that you touched on that of them wanting to be closer to each other. And so
Yeah.
in the movie, his character moves cross country with his family so that they would live in the same community. And Lou, I found that, in my research across the country, there were so many veterans that felt so separated that maybe they had a Facebook group to feel connected to that group. And this being in law enforcement, there's a level of intimacy when you're willing to give your life for those to your left and your right that you will never find in your civilian life. It is something very, very unique and special. And as a civilian myself, I revere that level of loyalty. And, in the film, Vondi Curtis Hall's character, he plays a Vietnam veteran, as you know,
Yeah.
and he talks to my character in one of his darkest hours, and he says, when he sees the thousand-yard stare on his face, "I bet you're wondering, where's my tribe?" And I'm not talking about friendship. I'm talking about brotherhood, the willingness to give your life for those to your left and your right. Where are you going to find that back here? And so that was really important to touch on because so many men and women that I had interviewed and I lived in their homes, was immersed in the community and their families. They felt that separation, and I think it'd be worth asking you, as somebody who's retired law enforcement, in your transition out, when you talked about all the challenges you faced, did you find that, especially getting medicaled out, like getting injured, and like, so you were putting your butt on the line every day, but then having an incident where that happens. How did
Yeah.
you find that separation from those you served with?
It was difficult, man, because, thanks for the question, but it was difficult because I got hurt on the job and I worked undercover for most of my career, very dangerous stuff. And I get hurt on the job and in a very interesting situation the way it went down. But then I have a traumatic brain injury, injured mouth, jaw, injured ear, neck, all these things. And then comes everything stops. And then that train stops and all the cargo starts coming forward, right? All the
Right.
hits, the near misses, all these things nightmares, all this stuff, medication, pain medication, drinking. It's just 4 years spiral for me, right? And then comes that part. Like, who am I now? I felt like like I'd been a samurai, like a real badass samurai, you know what I mean? In my mind, right? To They're like, you're now a gardener. I was like, damn, bro. And I have to garden,
Yeah.
which I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, right? I think somebody wrote that once.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it was hard. It was very difficult. It was very difficult because it was an identity change. I was no longer that guy.